If you want them to bring you money, you have to speak it out loud. Angels and guides, they need it's free will. Like you have free will. They can't infringe upon your free will. So you have to speak it out loud. And if you're in a public place where you can't speak out loud, I want you to use it in block form in your Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle. We talk all things life, love, spirituality, love attraction, and all of that juicy goodness. In this video, we are going to do a page pull. I'm not going to edit that. For inviting your angels into your life. And my angels just said, yes, don't edit. Teach other people that it is okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to just laugh at yourself and be silly. And a lot of us grew up in environments where we were smushed. We were told to be quiet. We were told to be perfect, to have, a clean room, or maybe it was just we have to look a certain way in public. And this is us just breaking that entire mold and saying, I am finally allowed to be free to be me and all of my silliness. And I think what the world needs more of is everybody accessing their inner child, us finally laughing at ourselves, finally being able to laugh with other people, right? The other day I was on a walk and my guides just made me think of this just now. I was not going to bring this up in this video. I was on a walk. I heard this group of kids coming behind me. They were on their bikes. And one kid was just like, well, at least I don't look like this, and at least I don't look like that. Like they were just bantering back and forth. They were all laughing. But obviously, deep down, one of those kids was literally being bullied, right? And as they rode by, like it happened so quickly that like I pulled my wire buds out, and all of a sudden I like wanted to go and like tell them like, you guys don't do that, like that's not okay. But I just was like, what, Michelle, just keep your distance. They were on bikes, they were moving pretty quickly, and my throat chakra's going nuts. But it just reminded me of how much like that kind of so-called normal behavior, that's not normal. Those are children coming from an environment, from a home where maybe that was done to them, or maybe the siblings are doing that to each other and nobody's saying anything, right? We are not the butt of anybody's jokes. And we have to start looking at our children and asking ourselves, how am I speaking in front of them? How are they speaking in front of me? Am I jumping in and correcting them? There were so many different ways I was picturing myself speaking to those kids, even though they're complete strangers. They probably would have totally ignored me. And maybe they wouldn't have. Maybe I should have said something. But, it was just, they were all laughing and playing. But deep down, I'm just like, you know what? That one kid is going to be so hurt by this when they're an adult. And these are the little moments that shape us. I spend every day on Zoom with women from all over the world, and we're uncovering these moments of pain and suffering where we were smushed, or we were made to believe that it's not okay to be us. It's not okay to look like we look, right? I was on a call the other day with a woman, and she was talking about how there's been multiple times in her reality where, and I think this will have to do with the angels, so keep this in mind. This specific story is going to have to do with the page that we pull, I just heard. But she had been groped, like men had just been grabbing her different stages of her life. Like she was getting her hair cut one time and a guy was putting, the drapery over her, and he like grabbed her boob while she was doing it. Like how disgusting and inappropriate. And when you're a child and you don't have your voice and you feel like out of control and disempowered in your body, like you're scared to speak up in that moment, right? Like did he just do that? Like what just happened? Like you start to question it, right? And there was another time that she was on a bus and a guy was being inappropriate behind her, and she could feel his hand like hitting her butt, right? Because they were so close on the bus, but she like couldn't get out of it. And it was just like moment after moment, she was having these memories of men being inappropriate with her. And as we know, we attract situations that are similar to our childhood. So we have to go back and really look at, okay, like where did this start? Like, I don't want to address this. I don't want to think about it, but it's real and it's happening. And why did my body and my soul have to experience that? And I believe calling in our angels, calling in our guides, getting grounded before we do this type of work, unpacking it with a mentor, with a healer who knows how to do it, who can hold you through it, because you don't want to be uncovering all of this and have nobody to talk to. It's really scary. And these memories are deep within us, and we didn't have them, right? We're just starting now to remember all these moments where we were abused, and it's not okay. And these moments, even with the kids bullying the kids, and it's just like, it's seeing like how, if you can take a helicopter view of our world, how these men, adults, women, kids, like how are they being raised to the point where they think that that's okay to do that, right? And it all comes from a lack of love. I'm assuming those men that were doing that, they were probably neglected, left alone, now are looking to sue through porn, through sex, through looking at women, touching women, because there's some need inside of them that is unmet. And if we can go back to what I was talking about in the beginning of this video, if we can go back to kids, right, and think about how are we talking to our kids? What are we giving our kids? What are our kids showing us? And if we can fix the way we parent and the way we raise our kids, we will change our world. So it starts with us as adults. If we are about to become parents, we have to learn what am I needing to do in order to make me the greatest space holder for these kids. I also want to bring attention to adults who maybe struggle to regulate, right? Maybe to regulate their emotions, their feelings. Maybe they're triggered by a lot of things, so they react, they respond to their kids in a certain way. To me, the best parenting is when you're doing that, right? You notice it, you catch it, and then you go to your kids and you apologize. That's okay. You can still react. You can still be imperfect, right? But when we go and apologize and tell our kids, like, hey, I'm not perfect, I'm doing the best that I can, like, that's teaching them something, right? That's teaching them, number one, to own up to their behavior, number two, to communicate, number three, to be vulnerable. And number four, they're just catching themselves in the moment and being completely and radically honest. So these are things that we can do as adults to change our world in the future. Okay, so let's call in our angels and let's see what message we need to hear today. Okay. Archangel Azrael. Okay. Archangel Azrael. So it was just on the second page. So I'm going to go to the first page and just read who Archangel Azrael is. Archangel Azrael, whose name can be translated as friend of God, is also known as the angel of death, a name that, as you can imagine, does not make him the most popular of archangels. First of all, Azrael does not come with hood and scythe, nor does he come to take away our life. Rather, he comes to aid us in receiving and living the fullness of life. Azrael is the divine grace that comes to our aid as we pass from this life to the next. He eases our transition. He does not hasten it. For any who have ever called out to God to help them pass through the portal of death, the answer is and always has been the presence called Azrael. Remember that an angel or archangel is an expression of God, not separate from God. So if you guys can see it as like extensions of God, all of these archangels, one is protection. So if you think about the traits that they hold, it's all versions of God giving us what we need in the moment, right? So if we need help while somebody's passing away, that version of God will come through us and help us. If we need help with a catastrophe, a natural disaster, a hurricane like we just had, I posted a video about Archangel Uriel the last time I used this book. I'll link it here. The angel of protection during catastrophe, that aspect comes through to help us. So if you can think it, if you don't believe in angels, which I think most of you do if you're on my channel, but if you struggled, if you're like, do I really believe in angels? Are they really like these things that are beautiful with wings? Maybe if you don't believe in that, if you can just see it as God is source, and there's all these energies that are coming off of source, like protection, catastrophe, death, and there's this love that comes through those portals to give us the energy, the resources, the love, the support we need to go through those moments. That's really what these archangels are. And I'm not surprised that we're getting the Archangel of Death, because there's been a lot of transitions with the past two hurricanes in the United States and also overseas with war. So maybe there's more of a message in here for us for this specific week. Okay, it says, it stands to reason then that Azrael is somewhere in the vicinity whenever the veil that separates this world from the next becomes thin. Specific situations where we can benefit from this friend in high places would be helping ease the suffering around death, ours or someone else's, a mentor for those who do palliative care, kind of hospice work, a mentor for those whose gift it is to see beyond the veil, mediums, a mentor for those who practice dying, who train for death, aid for difficult small death passages. It says the most obvious role Archangel Azrael can play as an ally pertains to the many facets of what is often considered, above all in the West, the most difficult period in anyone's life, death. He can help the person who is dying or those around that person before, during, or after death. This is so beautiful. So I feel like we got this message because, well, number one, the 12th is the anniversary of my dad's passing, his transition. My daughter passed August 29th in 2012. My dad passed 10/12/21. And for both instances, I was holding both of them. I was the only one in the room. Well, with my daughter, me and her father were there, but I was holding her when she took her last breath. And it was both like a hospice situation. They were not cognitively awake in there. They were on morphine as they took their last breath. And I was with my dad. There was only like a 45-minute block where my mom and my sisters went home, or they went to go get food. And my brother was coming up to stay the night with him. We were taking turns staying the night with him. He had not been responsive for, I think, 2 days at that point in hospice. So we were just kind of like waiting for it to happen. So we wanted somebody there with him at all times. Where before, when he was awake and stuff, we would still sleep with him and take turns, but this was a little bit more serious now. It could happen at any moment. So I happened to be there for my daughter. I happened to be there for my dad. And also my mom passed away October 26th in 2023. And I was there a couple days before she passed, and she was going through these moments where she couldn't tell anybody else in my family that she was seeing aliens before bed. And she was seeing these like photo frames of old pictures of men and women. And I believe that was her spirit guides coming through, welcoming her to the other side, preparing her, letting her know it was safe to come. But her mind and her ego was scaring her, and it was making her think that these, bad entities were coming to take her. And I told her, and of course, I happened to be there a couple days before she passed. I drove up there. I think it was a 2-hour drive. I brought my computer. I brought AirPods. I brought headphones because I was like, what is she like? She's just sitting here in a hospital bed. So I found her favorite 1950s musical on YouTube, and she was so excited. She thought she would never see it ever again because she was just sitting in this hospital room, no TV, no access to things that she loves. So I went and found all the things that she loves, and I put the AirPods in her ears. The first time she wore AirPods, and the Bluetooth is not healthy. But she was watching her 1950s musical just days before she was passing. So it was like I have become a portal, right, for my daughter, for my grandmother, for my dad, and a lot of you guys might be the same way. So instead of looking at all the death that you've experienced in your life as painful, and why does this keep happening to me, and why does everybody around me die, or why do I have to be with everybody, maybe you chose this as your path. Maybe you are the portal. Maybe you are that support system that they need. You're the hands and the love and the energy that they need to transition. So this is a really specific message. And for this week, I feel like whether you guys get news that somebody in your family passed away, whether you're with somebody as they're passing, whether you're, on the phone with a friend who just lost a loved one, you are chosen. You're being chosen for this because you have the gift to soothe. You've been through a lot. Maybe you haven't been through a lot of death in your life. Maybe this is your first time experiencing it. And maybe you're watching this going, oh my gosh, how did Michelle go through all that? And how do other people handle death? And I don't want to deal with it. It's okay. Once you surrender to the fact that we don't die, our body dies, right? The soul transitions. That's why they call it a transition. You're moving from this realm to another realm. And the other realm, I like to believe, is just behind this wall. So my daughter right here, she's just behind the wall. I just can't see her, but she's here, right? That's the veil. So a lot of times we are being moved to be that support. We're being moved to be the mediums. We're being moved to offer the support to a friend who just lost their mom and you don't know what to say to them. And you don't have to say all this just yet. They might not believe in this. You can say, I'm here for you, whatever you need. Do you need a meal? Do you need a nap? Do you need a massage? You just allow that person to grieve the way they need to grieve, right? We don't kind of try to control. We don't try to quickly, spew all these spiritual concepts onto somebody who's grieving. It's not the time for that at all. They might not be open to it. And you don't want to say things like, oh, they wouldn't want you to be sad. Somebody who's grieving, you just hold space. You just allow them to feel. So if you can think about this, my guide just showed me a bubble. Like, you guys know I love talking about bubbles, but if you can picture a bubble, like each and every one of you watching right now, if I were to look at you like on a Zoom screen or something, and I would see a bubble around each and every one of you. Right now in your bubble, you're experiencing your reality in whatever way you're experiencing it. Some of you might be in pain. Some of you might be in joy. Some of you might be in wondering what's going to happen next, or maybe you're about to leave your job and you're in like a leap of faith energy in your bubble. Well, right now, when I'm coaching you or guiding you or bringing you information, I have to honor your experience. So I'm not going to try to push the experience that I'm in my bubble onto you, because I just want to honor where you are. Let's look at your whole bubble. Let's look at all the people in it, all the options, all the situations that you're experiencing, and let's acknowledge it, right? Let's fully see, wow, you're going through this, you're going through that, or you're having this awakening and you're feeling so good and you're eating so well and you're juicing and you're exercising and your bubble is just so light and fun right now. That's your experience. So when you're talking to a friend, or if somebody's transitioning, or a friend who just lost somebody, I want you to look at their bubble. What does their bubble look like right now? Their bubble might look like despair. It might look like a lot of crying. They're not always going to be that way, right? But when you walk up to somebody who's grieving and they're in their bubble of despair, the best thing that you can do is hug their bubble. Just honor, just stay back and honor and see them. Tell them, I see what you're going through and I'm here for you. I don't understand it, but I see it. I see you. I validate you. I see your feelings. I'm not going to say I understand it, because your experience is in your bubble and I don't have that experience. I can just observe you and love you and hold your bubble and hold you. That is the best thing we can do, according to Archangel Azrael, when we're going through death and transition and grief and loss, is honoring people's bubbles, right? And it first starts with us honoring our bubble. And I'm super, super passionate about it because I've dealt with a lot of grief in my life. I've learned these tools through lots and lots of pain and suffering, and from being on the other end of people saying certain things like, your daughter wouldn't want you to be sad. Meanwhile, it was just one of those days in my bubble where I felt so much pain and I just wanted to hold her, right? And people would say those things and I'm like, you just don't understand. Like, I didn't want to hear that, right? I shouldn't have asked, or I shouldn't have talked to them. But my ego and my mind was not there yet. My mind was not ready to hear that. So we have to honor that other people might not be ready to hear the things that we want to say to comfort them. So don't say anything. Just hold space. Maybe just say, I see you. Okay. So I feel like that was direct guidance from somebody out there, because I feel like there's a lot of grief on our planet right now with the past two hurricanes, a lot of abrupt loss, really tragic and horrific types of loss. Even after, 2020, there was a lot of abrupt loss and people aren't prepared with how to deal with it. So let's thank Archangel Azrael for giving us this message today, to know that it doesn't always have to mean that, like, oh my gosh, prepare. I'm not sitting here saying, prepare, somebody in your life is going to pass away soon. That's not what Azrael's saying. They're saying that we can love our world and our kids and our parents and all of our loved ones differently through observing their bubble and seeing them in whatever they're in and honoring it. So it's almost like how to support somebody who's going through a transition. And for some of you, it might mean that you just lost somebody, and maybe you stumbled across this video because your loved ones that crossed over wanted you to hear this. And one of my favorite messages is that they're always with you. They're just in the next room. They can hear you. And remember, they can't take action on the things that you want. Like if you want to send them, if you want them to send you a feather, a butterfly, if you want them to bring you money, you have to speak it out loud. Angels and guides, they need it's free will. Like you have free will. They can't infringe upon your free will. So you have to speak it out loud. And if you're in a public place where you can't speak out loud, I want you to use it in block form in your head. Picture yourself reading a sentence in your head. Angels, can you please bring me a $5 gift card today? You just in your head, you're saying that sentence. That puts it very basic. And angels and loved ones that have crossed over, they're very literal. So make sure whatever you're asking for, make sure you are very, very literal with it. Okay. All right, lovies. I hope you enjoyed this message. This was so good. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to bring any kind of fear. I think this was just a great message to say that you might be a portal for your loved ones. You might have that energy where people just feel so safe with you, and you're allowing them to literally move into the next dimension. And you're just such a grounded, solid force to do that for them. And when I did it with my dad, after I did it with my daughter, I felt like Wonder Woman. I was like, I can handle death. This is so great. Meanwhile, it was really, really difficult. All of the decisions I had to make, like I was the one that had to make the decision to up my dad's medicine so I would no longer be able to talk to him anymore when he was on hospice. Like I speak about it so upbeat right now, but at the time I was skin and bones. I was suffering. I was in despair. I had like ailments in my body my body was purging all of this like excess energy. I had bumps all over my legs. It looked like cellulitis. It was just insane the amount of stress I was under. But when the time came for my dad to actually transition, which is October 12th, which could be the day this is airing on, I'm not sure if it's after or before or on it. But the day when the hour came where it was time, I had a little angel on his chest. I had crystals on his chest. As soon as my family left, I like took control. I put this angel. I don't know if this angel was on his chest. I had a crystal. I had music playing. I put on instrumental music. I created a portal for him. And I was reading from one of my favorite books called Journey to the Heart. I picked a random passage and I was like, all right, Dad, let's pick a page. We did a page pull together. And he was there just breathing very slowly. And all of a sudden, I didn't hear him breathing. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's happening. And I quickly called the nurse, and my nurse was like, Michelle, call your family, call your family. So I got all of my siblings and my mom on a group call, and I put them on speakerphone, even though my dad wasn't awake. And he, I believe his soul could hear us. I could get emotional even now just thinking about it. Like I was so panicked on like dialing the numbers correctly, like getting all my siblings on the call. And I was like, you guys, it's happening. Dad's passing. He's passing. And they all got to say goodbye. And it was really emotional for me to be there and to know that they all weren't there. But it was also really beautiful to hear each of my siblings and my mom like say goodbye. So because I was there and because of the way that things worked out in technology, like my dad could hear their voices as he was taking his last breath. And he passed away at 8:18 p.m. And one of my clients is so sweet, and she got me this necklace. It's 8:18. But that's the beauty of love. Like I'm crying because there's so much love in that moment where I'm holding a phone to my dad who's about to die, and I'm hearing all of my family say such loving things to him, and if you've dealt with death and you've been around somebody who's passed away and you're all saying, I love you, it's safe to go, be free, it's so powerful. And I believe, as Rael is saying, like, we don't have to fear it. It can be a really beautiful experience if we see it that way. And I am so grateful that my daughter and my dad and my mom chose me to be with them through that process of leaving. Like I was so glad that I was able to tell my mom, like, Mom, it's okay that you're seeing aliens. Everyone else is probably going to think you're crazy, but I don't. I know you're not losing your mind. This is what happens, and it's safe, and everybody's going to be okay. And I would have dreams, and she would have the same dreams. And then I'd go see her in the hospital, and we would share our dreams together. Like, we were so connected. So it's so beautiful that we can be portals. We can be the light, as our loved ones are transitioning or as our friends are going through the loss of a loved one. We have to hold the ground for them because we've already been through it. And this is a special message for other people who are like me. If you've had to say goodbye to a bunch of people in your life, one or two, three, four, five, however many, you understand it now. And there's people right now experiencing it that don't understand it, and we have to be there for them. That's the final message, is we are there to support them as they transition or as they have family members transitioning. It is our duty. Okay, we have to hold that space, observe them in their bubble, honor their experience. Don't try to change how they're feeling. Just say, I see you, you're validated, whatever you need, I'm here. And you let them do that for however many years they need to do that. There is no timeline on grief, okay? All right, lovies, I feel called to end it here. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for supporting me and my daughter and our mission here, and my dad and my mom. They're all here with me in this video with all of you. So I hope you have a good week. Send love to your loved ones. Send love to anybody grieving. All right, peace out.